Hmm. Ah. Greetings, the Astro 30 here yet again, tired as busting for a piss and doing another video, but that's the sacrifices I make for you guys. In today's video, I'm planning on combining the Elliott Sound Products Project 27B guitar preamplifier with the ElectroIndia N-Channel amp, and I'm going to resist all temptation to call it the 200 watt N-Channel amp now, because it only measured around about 80 watts. However, I need to make a correction. It was 80 watt into an 8 ohm load at plus minus 42 volts. Now, if I had upped the voltage to what I think would be safe to run this on, which is plus minus 56, so that's a 35 volt AC transformer, I reckon I would have got closer to maybe a little over 100 watt into 8 ohm. Now, it could be that it's 200 watts into 4 ohms. And that sounds much more likely. However, most hi-fi speakers these days are around the 6 to 8 ohm range, 6 ohm being more common now than it used to. But in the olden days, 8 ohms was the norm. You usually find only 4 ohm installations in cars and in some sound reinforcement systems such as guitar amps. So the only thing I really need to do to this is wire the connector on the audio cable going into the power amplifier that will connect to the preamp, and also change the nylon spacers there to the metal ones that I've got, because one of them's already started to strip out. Of course it has, because it's been off and on that many times. So that's the two things I need to mainly do. So I'm going to pop all this up on the desk, connect it all together, and do a sound test into the speaker that's sitting under it.
Fully sick, bro!
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change these nylon spacers on this preamp to metal ones, because, yeah, as I said, well, these are starting to strip out. Now, I haven't done the labelling on the front panel yet. I've got an idea for it. I haven't got any knobs either, but I've also got an idea for that. Anyway, I'm going to unscrew it from this side first. Okay. These electronic danger noodles are kind of in the way, but that's alright. I'm going to have to resolder this ground wire in here, because it's been stressed about because of being on and off of test equipment and moved around a bit. So I'll just have to cut it off and resolder it. I've got to shorten the lead anyway, so it doesn't make any difference. The electronic danger noodle. I like that term. F you, Electro Boom. He's the one that said it first. I lost my when I actually heard him call an electric wire an electronic danger noodle. I'm like, what the that's funny. He's a funny Now, this will allow me to get it semi-straight. I think that's as much as far as I can take it. So the board's always going to be crooked. There's no two ways about it. So we'll just leave it crooked. I mean, unless you've got OCD, you're not going to really notice that those screws are slightly out. You. It's not too bad. The gap is almost consistent. It's probably a millimetre bigger at this end than it is at that end, but yeah, without reaming out holes to make things bigger, it's not going to make any difference. Right, so I think I'll move on to wiring the connector to go to the output connector here, so I can connect it to the power amplifier.
Sick, mate! Sick, subwoofer!
It's coffee time on the Astro 30. Yes, it's black. It's only because I don't have any milk. Now some of you may disagree with what I'm about to do next, but for what I'm doing I don't think it's an issue, but it can be an issue, so I'll just explain it before I do it. Here's a reverse engineered schematic of that ElectroIndia power amplifier, which is available on my Patreon page if you're so interested in getting a hold of a copy of the schematic. And please do not leave me comments on my video saying please provide schematic. The schematic is on Patreon. I will put a link in the description to where it can be found on Patreon. Anyhow, back to what I'm talking about. I'm planning on wiring the ground lead of the connector pin to the PCB of the preamp, and that means that at 2 points, because the other end already has a ground connection at the power amp board, that means now that there is a ground connection at both ends, which is on the same ground line, because it all goes back to the same point on the power supply. However, you'll notice there's a 10 ohm resistor here. This is what's known as a loop breaker resistor. It's used in a lot of older amplifiers, mainly for interconnection of external equipment, not internal. So effectively, when I connect the ground at the other end to the preamp, this resistor will be shorted out. The reason why I say this could be a problem is because you can inadvertently cause a earth hum loop. That is where you've got it earthed at 2 points instead of at 1, because in audio all earth should go back to a star central point, and in this case I'm going to cheat a little and not bother, because the reason why there's a ground up that shielded cable is for the shielding. Having it connected at both ends may or may not cause a problem. We'll soon find out. If it so does, I can always buy another connector, cut it off, and just have one end connected at either the power amplifier side or the preamplifier side. Seeing as the preamplifier is higher gain, probably be better to be connected at the preamplifier for the ground, and then nothing connected at the power amp except the hot lead. But anyhow, I digress. Let's get that connector wired. I'm also planning at some stage to replace this speaker wire connection and the plug it's connected to, because for what the output of this is just way overkill. It's also very hard to work with because the conductor is so thick, so I might put on the normal grey thinner speaker wire that you find more commonly on things. Pity I can't get the red one. I think the red one looks sexy, but yeah, grey it is. Now luckily this end was already stripped a while ago, so it makes it easier doing the connector. I don't have to do the stripping and tinning of wire. I just have to put heat shrink on it, which is what I'm doing right now. So it goes all the way down. And of course another one on top just to hold it. Nice. Okay, it looks pretty sexy. Now to actually put the connector on, I'll do that off camera because, well, yeah. I'm going to have to buy another two-way connector and crimp set, because I, for the life of me, cannot get this hot wire to go into the sleeve, into the connector body, and actually clip in. I've been f***ing around with this for the last 10 minutes and can't get it to do it, and all I'm doing is just wrecking the crimp pin, and I'm also wrecking the connector body. Me. Right, I've got everything set up. I've got my two... What the f***? Let's try that again. I've got my two... Yeah, okay. I'm going to stop doing that. Anyway, I've got my two power transformers connected to the big ass danger noodle, just with the wires shoved in the end of the noodle. Danger noodle. Preamps down there. I'm going to replace that connector down there. I'm just going to cut the wires and strip them back a bit longer, and hopefully don't have any incidents. First time I've had an incident with that not working properly, but yeah, it is what it is. I hate the things. And of course the power amplifier sitting over there in the background. Right, so I'm going to plug the thing in now. I've got the master volume control up just a tad, as if this was in the real world. I want to see if there's any obnoxious noises coming out of this when you plug it in. Well, there was a little bit of a thud there. there is a bit of a buzz, which can be reduced by reducing the treble. So I'm picking up some noise from somewhere. Let's see. Well, it's working. You can sit in front of the speaker. Yeah, that's nice. Let's just drop the bass a bit. I think that's with the bass all the way off. Yeah, it is. Give it a little bit of bass, a little bit more mid. Seems to be working fine. Right, so what I should try now is actually rotating the speaker onto its side where it's actually going to spend the rest of its life living. The tweeter is now closest to the floor. I am planning on putting two in though. Forgot I had the treble off. Okay, so I'm quite happy with that. It seems to be functioning okay. The speaker may look a bit weird now on its side, but that's what you get. The preamp module is going to go up here, somewhere towards the center. So in closing, it is functioning as it should. There is a bit of a nasty buzz, but that could be anything. I don't think I caused an earth hum loop. So we'll just unplug it now. It's hardly any turn or transient. I'm not going to really need a muting relay or anything by the sounds of things. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, I'm the Astro 30, and if you enjoyed this video, please remember to rate, comment and subscribe below. And you can always follow me on Facebook, and you can also become a Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Anyway, this is the Astro 30 saying see ya, have a great day. Yeehaw!